But whenever we're done because we are leaving for Mount Rushmore tomorrow morning. So I'm just hustling between now and then.
What's the plan in
That's
Mount
fun.
Rushmore? Like, is the plan to go and stare at Mount Rushmore, or what else are you doing?
This is with Lisa's family. We're camping for 9 days.
Oh, look at what he's flexing with his sweatshirt right now.
Look at, what is that?
I got to make my own. That's the Unreal branded Running Public sweatshirt.
Looks good.
Wow. I'm
Yeah.
speechless.
We make our own clothes here in Minnesota, so
Well, you'll be receiving a letter from my lawyer.
that's fine.
I real quick about Mount Rushmore. So you're going there with the family and looking
Yes.
at it, right? Is that what you do there?
Yeah?
I went once as a
I don't
kid.
think you're allowed to touch much.
I don't. It's pretty far away. You'd have to have a long arm to reach it.
Although I've seen Richie Rich.
What are you referring to?
The movie.
The movie.
I have not seen it.
Oh, Kirk.
Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't remember.
Well, I'm not going to ruin any of it. At some point, you're going to have to find it and watch it.
Well, we'll get to TJ here in a millisecond, but my favorite thing about going to Mount Rushmore when I was in middle school was the backside of Mount Rushmore. There's a trail system, hiking trails, running trails, which I didn't do at the time, of course. But on the backside of Mount Rushmore is like mountain goat heaven. And I don't know, TJ,
Really?
if you've been there, but we saw dozens of mountain goats right on the trail, and they would let you come right up to them. They were like pets, but not. And so if you get the chance, Brakken, what I'm saying is go to the backside of Mount Rushmore and go run the trails and see the mountain goats. Don't leave that out.
Okay. Well, I'm on Strava right now. I'm going to see what sort of...
All right. Well, you're doing that. I'm
Segments
going
they
to
have.
introduce our guest, TJ. Hey,
Hey,
how you doing,
how's it
man?
going? Doing great.
Thanks for playing hooky today to chat with us. Hopefully nobody at your work listens to this.
A few have actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, anyways, we're doing this after business hours, folks. There, I got you covered.
There you go.
Recording at 8 p.m. on a Wednesday.
Yep. TJ, how should I introduce you? TJ, how long ago were you on the podcast?
It would have been about this time in 21,
3 years already?
3 years ago. Yeah.
3 years ago.
Wow.
It doesn't feel that
Yeah,
long
that's
ago.
right.
Okay.
No.
Well, I'll introduce you. TJ, you're one of my best buddies. You live here in Minneapolis area. We hang out all the time. I've coached you for years too. In fact, you were with me, which I actually would like to hear your rendition of the story, when I was almost attacked by a black bear, which still is in your that hasn't left you yet, I guess is what we will say.
Nope.
But we had you on initially because you were a ball sport power athlete your entire life, and then went on and did the Ultra Beast in Utah. And you talked us through that experience and the training it took, and it was a really relatable episode. We got a lot of good feedback from it. So we're having you on again today for two reasons, mainly. One, you've been chasing big stuff since.
Yep.
I guess 3 reasons. 2, you're a good buddy of mine, and I like bullshitting with you. These are my favorites, so I can catch up with a buddy and do an episode. And then 3, what was it you had? I told you a couple weeks ago I had some conversations with athletes who just weren't holding up their end of the bargain. And if anybody holds up their end of the bargain, it's you. It's an objective matter that things need and must get done, and you have like an outlook on it that I think people need to hear. So those are the reasons you're here today. How do you feel about that?
That sounds good. I'm happy to share whatever makes sense. I do want to clarify as we get into this. I know after the last time I was on, there was some feedback of finishing a race when you're that sick and is stupid. Had I known that it was like a deadly situation, I would have, quit the race. So I just want to clarify that before we get into it. I'm not an idiot. At the time,
Well, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. But at the time, I didn't know what I was going through. So just to clarify. But yeah, happy to share whatever perspective I can after becoming a runner over the last 2 years working with you.
Well, if you haven't listened to TJ's episode, go back and listen. Am I remembering correctly 3 years back that you ran yourself into rhabdo?
Yeah.
So you're one of our elite, I think 3? I've had 3 guests now who have done that. And that's not something you know in the moment.
No.
It's not like a bone sticking out of your skin. You're like, yeah, that's not smart. It gets you afterwards. So yeah, if you listen to it, the takeaway wasn't, let's be tough no matter what. But we get messages all the time of people misunderstanding things we say. So I understand that you probably got that as well. And in no way, shape, or form do we say diagnose rhabdo and then send it.
Yeah, no, I don't recommend that either. I'm not a quitter, but I would quit if it's something that serious for sure.
Yeah, you spent a few days in the hospital, didn't you, afterwards? I mean, your urine was completely brown. You were really sick, right, for a bit?
3 days, yeah, and then good to go. A couple weeks later, I was back at it. But yeah, it was 3 days of just, fluids and chilling. But I'm glad I went through it just to kind of know what that is as I'm chasing bigger stuff. And it's good to have some relationship with it at least. And if it happens again, have a pretty good idea of what it is and how it feels.
Kirk, have you ever had the brownish urine?
I have not. Have you?
I had one time, yeah. That Killington that year where I did the second lap with no fuel or water, I had like orangish brown pee the second lap.
But you felt okay.
Is that something you noticed? Is that something you noticed during or after?
Yeah, because it was the first time I ever peed my pants during a race. And so I was very interested in the entire process.
Yeah.
I didn't know if I could, but finally, like 6 hours into the race, I thought, I think I could pee. And then it was one of those things where it was like a thorn in your foot. Like as soon as you notice it, it's all I could think about. Like it was just cutting through the fatigue. Like if you don't pee, your world's going to crumble. So I forced out a pee and I was watching it. Because again, like rarely as an adult, you just pee your pants. And I thought, I haven't seen that color before. That's interesting. Yeah. So it wasn't full on brown. It was like, I remember it being more orangey brown. So it never turned into full blown rhabdo, but that's kind of the situation you get it in. Underfueled, overheated, very dehydrated, and then trying to exert really hard in that state.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, it feels like one of those things, though, sometimes you don't know until it's too late. Right? Like it's normal race fatigue. You're starting to cramp a bit, which can happen in mountain ultras or any run, really. You're starting to be like, I'm really tired, but is this how I should feel? And then you finish, and then the piano lands on your back further, and you're like, then you start getting the chills, and you don't feel good. And you're like, is this normal? And it's like a hindsight thing, right? So it's like you have to be very in tune to know the warning signs during, which I don't even know what they would have been, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd never done anything long like that before, so I didn't really know what I was going to feel till I felt it. Moving forward, now I obviously have an idea, but at the time I just thought, oh, that's what happens when you do this stuff. Good learning experience.
You just suffer immensely for days afterwards.
Spend thousands.
TJ, I want you to tell your rendition of the bear story. I had 2 people in the last, and then we'll get into the stuff, but I had 2 people in the last week and a half bring this story up to me, not me bring it up to them. One person I prescribed a descent long run, and I said, run downhill like you're being chased like by a bear, and then they referred to my story, and then another asked a question about it. And that one still rattles me a little bit, too. And I told that story on this podcast where me and you were out in the woods with Jess, my now wife. What do you remember about that? Because TJ's a tough guy. TJ, when I met TJ, you came to me initially, I think for training years ago. And then we quickly realized we are friends, soulmates, and needed to hang out outside of the gym together. And I remember we deadlifted one of those first sessions. And the way you picked up like 315, like it was a paperweight. Initially, I was like, "Oh, this guy's not joking around." The way you the way you move, the power in your body. But all that to say is TJ's a big tough guy, I think. He's a big tough guy who's also a teddy bear, which is ironic because now you're terrified of them. To the point, it's still extreme. So I want to hear your rendition of that day and what it's done to you since. I am very curious. We've never seriously chatted it out.
Yeah. I mean, I'll make this into a short story, but it affected me in my Ironman. Like, I chose my Ironman based on a lake swim versus an ocean swim because of sharks. Same type of fear. But the bear thing, I've always been terrified of that, just an animal that can take you down. And living where I live in Minnesota, Wisconsin, is typically not an issue in the southern parts of those states. So it's always been a fear in the back of my mind, being a hunter and all that. But then it actually happened. It's the first time I've seen a bear when I'm in the woods ever. A couple times on like Canadian trips, but it's like from shore and not a big deal. But I just remember a big black thing sprinting at us. And I remember turning and thinking, we're screwed. Like, it's over. I didn't know if there was one or more, but it terrified me because I'd always worried about it, and then it happened. And so as I try to chase some of this running stuff, I mean, I picked up a log. I assumed I was going to be beating a bear off of you. I was certain that that's what was going to happen. And then it didn't. Luckily, he stopped right. I mean, you could have slapped him on the nose.
Yeah.
And I was behind you, and it happened so fast that you kind of don't. It's hard to put it together, but it affects me every time I run. If I go into the trails, I try to find somebody to come with me, so I may have to run a little slower to bring someone with, but I don't want to be out there alone. It's so rare that you would ever even see one here, but it can happen, and I don't know. It's just a fear I have. I don't think I'll ever get over. I still think about it in the woods every time I go out there to hunt, as you know. It just was a fear I've had forever, and then it actually happened. And then you realize when it actually happens, whatever you think you might have done or were going to do, you won't do any of that.
There was no time.
And so, no, you have zero time. It's so fast. And yeah, so it still affects me today. I mean, my runs are tipped now. I mean, the stuff I'm doing now is on the roads, but all winter it was in the trails, and I would try to find somebody to come with me. And if not, I just was always on edge. Yeah, still affects me every day that I'm out there.
Yeah, it did.
You know what I think?
Oh, go ahead. What do you think?
Every time I hear you talk about this or someone, that for guys, this is our version of a female running alone somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, this is the closest we'll ever get to understanding that. Lisa Justin, shout out to her. She just finished running every street in Milwaukee yesterday.
Yeah, Lisa.
So,
woo,
3,000 miles,
Wow.
1,500 streets, every neighborhood. We have some violent areas. We have some rough areas. We have extreme poverty in some of the areas. And I was uncomfortable the entire time. And in many of the neighborhoods, she was as well. But every time she'd come home and be like, "Oh, I was kind of hassled on a run today." I feel like this is the closest we get to that.
Yeah.
I came up on a bear or 3 in Colorado, and like that moment where you realize I'm not the biggest thing here, and if something happens, I don't really have a say in it.
Yeah.
That's the closest we're gonna get, and it gives me a little bit of empathy there, realizing that sucks to go through that with it always in the back of your head.
Yeah.
Yeah, there
Such a rare thing, but it can happen. Yeah.
There was no choice in the matter. If that bear wanted me dead, it would have been dead, and it's because of that bear's decision to stop, because we were panicking idiots, and that took a whole second and a half. From the time we realized the bear was running to us to the time it would have been on me was less than I could have pulled out a pistol or bear spray. I don't think I could have in that amount of time. Maybe if I was exactly ready in the moment, but I was messed up for that fall. I was overly cautious. And now, as you know, TJ, I'm just back out there with reckless abandon, mostly because I can't imagine it would happen again. Like, I guess they say lightning never strikes twice, or maybe they say it does. I don't know. But the chances of that seem so few and far between that I'm just like, could it like happen again, even if I spent the rest of my life in the woods alone? I guess you shouldn't tempt fate, but I always run through that in my head being like, what would be the odds, right?
I think just knowing you and the amount that are where you hunt, I'd say it's pretty good odds. So you don't carry bear spray a lot still, which I think is just insane. I try to put myself like, if that were to happen again, at least I have that with me. So I got a fighting chance if one decides to attack, which normally they'll just run away. But yeah, odds are it wouldn't happen again, but odds are it wouldn't have happened the first time.
Well, the reason I bring this up,
when I was in Colorado,
I'll finish, then you can finish, Brakken. But the reason I bring it up is because a lot of our listeners run trail, right? And we deal with black bears here in the Midwest, but our Western contingency has brown or grizzly bears, however you want to refer to them. And black bears aren't supposed to attack, and one did, knowing we were there, making noise, being loud. We didn't surprise it. It wasn't a mother with cubs. It was just a lone bear that, I don't know, thought we were prey or whatever it was, and it happened so fast. And so for the trail runners out there, I think of like how likely it could be for somebody to fall into that scenario too. And people always say, I'll do this, right? Oh, I'll do this. I'll have all the time in the world, or I'll think of the right thing to do. You won't. And it doesn't happen like that. So like if you are concerned about it, I do think you should be prepared because firsthand, not a chance that you have a second to do the right thing because it'll be over before you know it. At least that was our experience, right? So that's why 100%. I brought it up. Long way to just preach to the trail runners out there that at least be in the back of your head and maybe have a contingency plan. Jess now carries a little thing of pepper spray with her on all of her outdoor runs if she goes on the trails as her fail-safe. And in the woods, yes, if I think there's a bear in the area, I do carry the bear spray. If I don't have bears on camera, I don't, but I carry a machete, and it's in my hand at all times, and it's 3 feet long. And I will hack the head off of that thing if I need to. Brakken, what were you going to say? Then we're going to move on.
Well, mine was going to be my counter to your saying I don't carry it that often. I was confronted with my own mortality in Colorado for the first time. We're very safe around here. And being out there the first time a whiteout storm hit when I was on the mountain, I realized this is how you die. Mm-hmm. And so from that point on, all my adventure decision-making has to fit in the line of, if this goes sideways, will I die or not? And if it's yes, then that's how I inform my decision. So that's when the first time we came up on a bear was the first time I went home and bought a little Bluetooth speaker and started running with a vest on. And I put the speaker in there and I just blast music if I'm in bear country. The first time we heard that there was a mountain lion in the area was the first time I bought a clip-on light and put it on the back of my pack so it was always shining backwards so that when the mountain lion is looking at you and waiting for you to go past, at least there's a light in his eye. Like from that point on, I stopped messing around with big animals because if the negative outcome is death, that's the side I err on.
That's a great way to look at it. I agree.
All right.
And it happens every year. Every year.
Every year. Yep. Exactly.
Do you remember while we were out there, a kid got famous because he killed a mountain lion that attacked him.
Choked it out.
Mm-hmm. Choked it out.
Yeah.
And it was like every runner's dream. And it turned out it was like 6 months old and dying of sepsis or something. Like it was a weak, like dying, confused baby cat.
It was like a
almost killed him.
30-pound juvenile. Right. And it almost killed him.
Yeah.
Right. And it was almost dead already. And it's just a good reminder that these things will mess you up. Like think of what a house cat would do to you if it wanted to go nuts.
Exactly.
And then just amplify it by 10.
Yeah.
We don't need to
and every year there's no, go ahead. I was just say every year there's a mountain lion on ring cameras in Minneapolis. There was one again this year and it got hit on the road. There was one last year, it got hit on the road. And I just think like, what the hell I'm out in the morning when it's dark with my headlamp on. What if that you just come across something? I do carry mace once in a while too, like on the trails at least. I don't do bear spray on the trails here, but yeah, it's so to your question, Kirk, I still think about it every time I go out.
Okay. Long answer short. And we don't need to open the can of worms on mountain lions because that's another level of freak factor that We went to knowing the mountain lion was coming until it was on our back, right? That's another thing. We don't even need to let our minds go there. We'll move on.
Kirk, I'm not moving on yet.
Gosh.
I have to ask you one question about mountain lions.
Okay.
I told you the mountain lion and deer story that my brother's wife Vivian encountered. Did I tell that on the podcast?
Doesn't ring a bell.
I didn't.
All right, so we're not moving on until I tell this. This is the craziest, like, powerful animal story I've ever heard. So he met her when they were working at the Broadmoor in Colorado Springs, which is this ultra exclusive resort conference center. But they have this thing called High Camp, I think, or Cloud Camp. It might be Cloud Camp, but it's up at the top of the range. It's at like 8,000 or 9,000, maybe above. It might be 10 or 11,000 feet. And it's these cabins with everything's catered. It's thousands of dollars a night to stay up there. And the people who work up there have to be shuttled up there and back each night. And you're not allowed to walk around alone out there because you're up in bear and mountain lion territory. Anyway, they're coming down at like 9 p.m. after their shift ends in a convoy of cars. And as they come across the switchback, their headlights light up the road, and there is a big mule deer in the center of the road. And a mountain lion flies out from up above on the ridge, and the deer spooks, and the lion just reaches out and slaps it across the head and knocks the deer out. Like, can you imagine knocking out a mule deer? And it's just twitching there on the ground. Hundreds of pounds of deer knocked unconscious. And so they go around it, and as they come back down the next switch back, they see the lion just drag it back up into the side of the mountain. But a mountain lion's capable of knocking out a deer with a glancing blow. Like, we are screwed if we encounter a full-size cat.
Yeah, you have no chance.
I'd come, I'm going to say 5 to 8 yards from a mountain lion, which I didn't know at the time. Then we really got to get into TJ here because we have an hour and a half window, and I don't want to ruin it talking about this. But
we're going to need part 3.
It was a morning bow hunt, and I was walking in with Jess, and there's long grass up to about your shoulders. It was like a pheasant-type grass. And pitch black in the headlamps. It's one of those mornings where you can see your breath. It's like a frosty, heavy air. And we're on this mowed path that's like 4 feet wide, and then everything next to the path is this long 4-foot-tall grass, right, that you can't really see into. And we hear this like, it was a guttural, and we both stopped, and the hair stood up on the back of our necks, and it was right there, like right where you couldn't see it. And I was like, I don't know what that animal is. And we both started running forward, like scoot running with all our gear and our bows in our hands. And we were like, what was that? I was like, does a raccoon sound like that? I was like, that wasn't a bear. That didn't sound like a bear. I couldn't put it together. But I knew whatever it was large and terrifying. And we were like talking about it all morning, like, what could that have been? And then we hunt in the morning. We walk back. And as clear as day it had rained that night, in the mud, the size of my hand was a mountain lion print on the walking path that we were on in the mud. And I have a picture of my hand next to the thing. And I looked it up, right? It was a mountain lion track for sure, not a bear track. And it didn't do anything with us. In fact, it had like a kill in the grass. We went back and investigated, and it was all packed down, right? Like it had something in there. But I would say 5-8 yards away from one. Luckily, it already had a meal, but I've never heard a noise like that. I'm sure you guys haven't heard mountain lion noises in the woods, because why would you? But it was terrifying. And I'm still here. That's all. That's my mountain lion story.
You're a survivor, Kirk.
I really am. Yeah. Really am. TJ, let's move on from animals.
Yeah.
So we talked to you back in 2021. You did the Utah Ultra Beast. You had never run a mountain. You've never raced at altitude. You're a Midwest guy working with 100-foot hills here in Minnesota, and you went out there and did it. You got rhabdo. You went to the hospital for 3 days. Couple $1,000 later and a good scare factor. And I believe it was by the end of that week, you were already conjuring up what was next, despite to the reticency of your wife and whatever else. Apparently that wasn't scary enough for you. And that was your first taste of big thing, like a real big thing. You went from like running, let's 5Ks to doing 12-hour race in the mountains. Like you decided that was going to be your pursuit. We talked to you shortly after that.
Yeah.
Had a great conversation about it. What have you been doing since? It's been 3 years. Tell us what you have been doing with your athletic journey since then.
Well, when I was on last time, I talked about like I had this interest to become a better runner because, I mean, frankly, when I started training for that and just a little before is like the first time I ever ran ever, like, more than a mile. So I wanted to get better at that. When I was training for the ultra, I told you guys when I was on here, it was the winter. So a lot of that was indoors. And so I would find stuff online that, was a lot of Spartan races and, things that intrigued me to watch. And that's still what I do today. But when I was doing that, there's a company called BPN. Nick Bear is the guy that owns it. But, he does a lot of, it's a supplement company, but he does a lot of sharing kind of his journeys on different adventures that he's going to go do. And one of those was an Ironman. And that looked intriguing to me. I'm like, wow, that's a lot of, just slow, boring stuff because I'm not fast. I'm never going to go chase 5Ks. It's just not the build I have. So that long stuff got really interesting to me. So I started just running more. The Ironman was like something in the back of my mind that would be fun to try. So really I just kept training, thinking of what I wanted to do next. I did some Tough Mudder stuff and, just some stuff that kept me busy, but ultimately wanted to do some longer stuff, get better at running first. And then just decided without a bike, didn't know how to swim, that I would just go ahead and sign up for an Ironman. It just was in my backyard and hopped online, found one in Texas, and this was July of 23. That honestly was the next race I did. So it was almost 2 years later. I trained that whole time just kind of for nothing. I just wanted to get better at all the stuff, so I didn't look like such an idiot out there. And I just signed up for an Ironman. Didn't have a bike, didn't have a plan. Signed up in July and the race was in April. So that was kind of the thing I was going to go chase next.
To jump in real quick, I mean, so really you committed to another race about a year after your ultra. Yes, you didn't race that race again. You didn't race that race for almost 2 years after your first ultra, but you were training at a level in which, what were you doing?
Yeah.
8 to 10 hours of training a week still, and I think you jumped into some smaller stuff you're glossing over along there, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like you were
I
lazy.
did some.
You were hardcore
No, I was
training constantly.
Training hard. I was just trying to. I talked about it last time I was on, but I had no base fitness, no running base at all, and so I was just trying to build that up and get better at that. I heavily focusing on my VO2 max now, like trying to improve that to get better at this type of stuff. And so, yeah, I was dedicated to something. I didn't know what yet till something caught my eye. I determined I didn't love the Spartan stuff. I loved the trails. I didn't love the obstacles. So the trail running thing, I liked that so much. I didn't like the obstacles. Like I could do without those. So that's kind of where I'll probably head next. But the Ironman was so intriguing because I couldn't do some of the stuff. I don't have a bike. I haven't been on a bike in 20 years, and I can't swim other than we have a pool and I can live in I'm fine in water, but I don't know how to swim properly. And so I thought, well, let's get uncomfortable. And so I gave myself whatever it is, 8-9 months to figure it out. And then that's what I went and pursued as my next big thing that I focused on and I'm a year plus later now. I kind of need that thing to keep me on a plan. Otherwise, I'm just scattered and all over the place, always training, but I like having a focus and something that I have to do every day with some structure. I need that for me.
So, what's the furthest you had biked before this Ironman?
I mean, I had never biked other than to school.
Okay. And
I mean, I on a Peloton, but I didn't have a bike. I had to go buy a bike. I've biked. I honestly haven't been on a bike in so long. Definitely never on a road bike or a tri bike. So yeah, I had never done it. Didn't know anything about them. So that was a whole process in and of itself, just trying to get fitted for a bike, and because you're on that thing for a while.
Yes, you are.
Yeah. The swimming too, like I went, I don't know how to swim. YouTube videos were I tried that. I went and found like a lady who coached swimmers, and she's like, okay, just swim down go take a lap. I didn't even know how to breathe and like put my head in the water. And so she kind of laughed, and she was like, when is this race? And I was like, oh, it's in April. And she's like, oh man. And I never went back to her. I was like, I don't need negativity around this. Like, I'm trying to learn. So I ended up going on my own for a couple months to learn to swim, and then found a group here that I swam with a couple times a week. So I got more comfortable at that over time. But that was, to me, was the most terrifying piece, because that just seemed so far. But again, it was, I need something out ahead of me to train for. I'll still work out if I don't, but I like having something on the calendar that I'm kind of working towards.
Yeah, your alarm goes off at 4 a.m. no matter what. Like if something's on the calendar or not. What time do you get up in the morning? Roughly around there?
Yeah, it's normally 4:30.
4:30.
Today I had an early call, so I just was up today. It was at 3:00, and I came down. I had time. I had a bagel and coffee, but then I had my brick session this morning, so I was up before 3 this morning. But normally it's a 4:30 alarm, and then I get my work done, and then I've got my day to do my job. So now with I'm training again for triathlon, a half Ironman, so I do have some doubles here and there. So I've got some afternoon sessions I got to do in the evening, but 95% I still get done before the sun's up or before the kids are up.
What kind of coach is prescribing a brick session on a Thursday?
You? Yeah.
Was today 90 minutes or 2 hours? I forget, but I know you had at least 90.
Today was
this morning.
90.
Yeah.
It was 90. It was a 45 bike, 45 run, and honestly, like, sounds crazy, but 3 years into this stuff, like, that's nothing, and super comfortable, and I love that workout. I do it indoors because I can just hop down on the trainer and the bike, and right on the treadmill, and I do need to get outside on some of these weekends coming up, but I love those sessions. I said I would never do an Ironman again after I left the first one, and now here I am. Same thing I said with the race I did in Utah. Like, I'm never doing that again, and just pulls you back in. I love having that big stuff when you're not fast, having the long, just endurance stuff to chase. I really enjoy that, and that's kind of what lights me up. And I feel like it keeps me young.
So every ultra I've ever done, I've said this is dumb. I probably won't do another one of these. It's not worth it. It's always the thought. It's just not worth feeling like this. But it's always been single modality. I mean, the most branched out it's been has been OCR Ultra. But triathlon's a little different. So what was it about the Ironman that made you think, nah, not again?
The whole experience was tough. I lost my dad that night. So just that affected me. The swimming, I wasn't prepared for. I'm sure some of your listeners have done this. I know you guys have done triathlons, but I had only swam in a pool because it was winter, and I wasn't prepared for 2,500 people kicking me and jumping over. Like, in the water, it was the most terrifying thing I'd ever experienced because I thought I could swim, but I'd never been in open water like that. The day before, thank God, there was a practice swim. And I got in, and it was fucking cold. I had a wetsuit, but I had a sleeveless one, so some water gets in, and it was like, oof, okay. And I struggled. Like, I was like, wow, that was not what I expected at all. Mm-hmm. I met a lady that morning with her husband. I always seem to meet people at races. Brakken, you talked about doing ultras, and it's kind of like you talk to people at water stations, and you're just out there having conversations. I like meeting people and learning people's stories at these events, especially when I suck at them. But I met a woman that morning going to the practice swim, and she said, tomorrow you're going to want to quit 500 meters in or less. I promise it'll happen. Just keep going. There's going to be that initial shock of all the people. And sure enough, I mean, 3 minutes into the swim, I was like, I didn't sign up for this. Like, I got kicked in the face. My goggles slid down. I just wasn't prepared for the chaos. I stopped, floated there a bit, fixed my goggles, and just like calmed myself down. And then I was fine, and went on with my day. I swam in like an hour 34. I projected to be quicker than that. It's actually not bad for being a beginner. Like, that was solid. But once I got into it, I got more comfortable. So now, training for a half, I'm not worried about it at all. I've become a much better swimmer. I'm very comfortable in the water now. But that was the piece that was terrifying. And the whole experience was so tough that I just didn't want to go back. It was hot. It's so long. And the bike is so boring. But it's something about doing 3 different things. I don't know, the training, hopping off my bike today and in my tri-suit and getting on my treadmill and dripping in sweat. Something about that kind of fires me up. I really like it. So I told Kirk, like, I've never done a race where I'm racing. I'm out there to finish and to do it. The Ironman, the only goal was become an Ironman. Like, I trained that long to do it, just become an Ironman, and who cares about everything else? So that was the plan, and I just went out and accomplished that. So I picked a 70.3 because I told Kirk, like, I want to go race. Like, I want to go push myself, not just finish. Like, so let me pick a half, and so that's what I'm working towards now. In between there, I did the 34 miler down at Zumbro with Kirk. He did the 17, and me and a buddy did the 34 miler, just to have something to train for over the winter, and then jumped right into this. So I need that stuff on the calendar. But yeah, the Ironman, I like switching it up. It's fun. Someday I'm on the bike, one day I go to the pool, and just having different things to work on, and it's kind of fun. But the swimming is
what was that run like?
That's the unfortunate part. Honestly, I had such stomach issues. Nothing I've ever experienced in my life. Because I got off the bike in 6 hours and maybe 50 minutes. Like, I took my time. I stopped, which honestly still was solid. I couldn't run. Like, I had such, I don't know what you would call it, stomach issues. Like, bathroom, gas. I had a plan, and just like Utah, I didn't stick to it. I shotgunned a Red Bull at like mile 80. I ate stuff I wasn't supposed to. I took my nutrition, then I just was like, I could use that. It's hot. And I took so much shit in that I started to run, and it felt like my stomach turned into a bag of cement. And then there was the bathroom, and I was like running with gas, like pushing me along, and I couldn't do it. My legs felt good. My stomach was hard to explain. I was just effed. So it was a shuffle walk for 26 freaking miles, and that.
So one thing I wanted to ask you
You took a normal person.
What's that?
Go ahead.
Say that again.
Go ahead, Kirk.
Oh, well, I was just saying, so the big takeaway, Brakken set you up for it, but I was going to ask you, what was the big important lesson learned out there? And the important lesson learned, which we've preached on this podcast, is don't try anything new on race day. We talk about sorting out your fueling beforehand, which you did, and it actually cost you dearly. It wasn't your feet you were thinking about. It wasn't your quads cramping on you, which I know you have a history of. It was like, it was distress from in the moment, unconscious decisions to be like, I'm tired. That Red Bull sounds great. That piece of whatever sounds great. And you actually paid for it dearly to the point where it probably added a half an hour onto your marathon. Think about that. So what were you planning to do, and what did you do?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. It didn't add a half hour to my marathon. It added hours. Like
Okay,
I had
hours.
to walk. I couldn't bounce my stomach or I would shit my pants. Like I don't know what I did, but to your point of, and you guys have said this so many times, and I know it, not to do it. Don't do anything new. Don't try new shoes, new socks, new fuel. And I did it because I was in a place where I was like, oh man, I don't feel how I think I should feel, so let's try a Red Bull, and then I'll do 2 bananas, not one. And I just started playing those games, and it cost me so bad. Um, I got done with the bike, and I could have crawled the marathon to become an Ironman, and that's basically what I did. I mean, I couldn't do anything, and it was brutal and frustrating. Now I accomplished my goal, but I wasn't proud of it. So, for me, and I told Kirk this, like the process for that was really about the journey, the process of going through the journey to become an Ironman. Like that was goal. It was all the stuff I accomplished up until that day, learning to swim, conquering those fears, learning to bike, all the stuff I did for that day to just, the race wasn't as important other than just accomplishing the goal. Moving forward now, there's different goals. Like I need to go out and compete. I'm fast enough to go do decent stuff. So it didn't, it was disappointing, but it didn't hamper the journey for me, which for a guy that's not competing really at any of this stuff as a racer, the journey to me is the most important part of what I go through on a daily basis. I know there's a saying that aging is the aggressive pursuit of comfort. And I think doing this stuff, which to me is hard, to others it's not hard maybe. There's people that do way crazier stuff, 200 and some mile runs. For me though, this is hard, and it pushes me every day to get out and do something uncomfortable. So I think that's just something I need in my life. And the result was frustrating, but it didn't damper the journey to get there, which to me was just amazing, that process.
I think it's one of those foolish events. I think that the human body is not designed to do what Ironman asks of you. I think the physicality we are fully capable of doing, but the way we're asked to do it is so bizarre. We start with breath restriction and swallowing lake water or seawater, and then we're forced to get ahead of the fueling on the bike, but crunch down and impede all of our internal organs in there. Like if you just ate normal, good, healthy food and just sat in arrow position for 5-6 hours while doing that, you would have gastric distress.
Yeah.
Because everything is smudged in there. And that's without breathing hard. That's without seawater in your gut. That's without heat exhaustion. And that's without trying to do a marathon at the end. And then the marathon kind of gets lumped in an Ironman. It's like everything else is so big that it makes the marathon seem like, yeah, now you just finish off. Why can't people like break 4 at the end of it? Forgetting that 26 miles would be such an arduous task to just walk out your door and do, let alone like just crunch your stomach for 6.5 hours and now go do it. It's such a foolish endeavor, which is why it's so alluring and it's such an honor to complete it. But it is really, really difficult, just even on your posture alone.
Yeah.
People talk about working at a desk is bad for you. Like sitting on a bike like that is bad for you. And then asking your body to run and open up like that, what do we say is wrong? Like it closes off your hips. Well, that's what you just did prior to your marathon for 6.5 hours. You closed off your hips. It's just it's so hard on us. And I think people sometimes, so many people accomplish an Ironman now because there's so much good information out there that sometimes we forget how hard it actually is every single time.
Yeah, it really is. And, and I like the goals that now there's people that can just show up and probably do one, but the average person can't get off the couch and go do an Ironman. And so I wanted something that you got to go kind of earn, like the local 5K that people go do in 50 minutes. Like that doesn't light me up at all. I feel like I wanted to go earn my day out there, and so the day didn't matter as much. It was, again, I talked about the process, but that was so rewarding, because I accomplished so much stuff that I couldn't even swim, and then to swim for an hour and a half, like that was a big deal, and showed me that I've got some ability to accomplish things that I think are impossible to me. That's what kept me away from that type of stuff. I likely will go do another full at some point. That Texas one, I really want to go down there and compete, but wasn't in the cards this year because I did a race, at Zumbro with a buddy. But it's super intriguing to go do one again. As much as it sucks, for some reason, it becomes interesting again at some point. So that likely will happen again.
It's like the male version of childbirth. Like how terrifyingly awful and miserable it is for women, and then once the immediate intensity of that wears off and the dust settles, and suddenly babies again are on the table shortly after. It's kind of like that. What other version do we have as men, other than going and doing something ridiculously painful and stupid, telling us that we're never going through that again, and then, ultimately deciding to go through it again? The reward is better. Exactly. Enough, right?
Yep. Yeah, that's a good comparison. Not saying an Ironman is as painful as childbirth. However, that makes a whole lot of sense. Yeah, you forget all the pain and you're like, yeah, let's go do that again. That was fun.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that whole journey and that process was super rewarding and just a fun experience. Again, for my wife and I to go down there, and that poor girl had to sit there all day and wait for me, and but just a fun event.
And people don't talk about how scary my first triathlon, I was in a pro wave, and we don't need to get into that, but I almost tapped out 30 seconds in because that mass start is terrifying. You realize you're in water, you can't touch the ground. You've already started to choke and cough up water because the splashing and waves, and you're sitting there going like, I might die. Like, I feel like I'm a good swimmer, and starting my first triathlon, goggles got kicked off. I had to stop and reset just like you did. I was in the back immediately and couldn't see amongst the clutter, and sitting there in 55 or 60 degree water in Lake Michigan without a wetsuit, thinking like, one, my body could stop working out here. 2, I can't see the buoys because there's 4-foot waves. 3, I just drank a gallon of water accidentally off the start line. And I don't know if this is smart for me to do. Like, I could die out here is how I felt. And I did continue on, and I did settle in. But you're right. That intensity of that, when you're not prepared for it or nobody's warned you of it, I wish somebody would have warned me, because I almost pulled the plug. I looked back and contemplating heading back to shore. For real, contemplated it. Nobody talks about that experience.
I did. No. I floated there for a second and was like, how do I tell people I quit 3 minutes into this thing? And I was like, there's guys on paddle boards. Like, you have options to just go. You can go lean on a paddleboard for 20 minutes if you want and just calm down. I just floated there for a second. I was like, all right, you can do this. And part of it, I think, it just got in my head too. When the day before, when you come up, they have the buoys lined up, and so you see visually how far 2.4 miles is in the water. And that took me back a little bit too, where you're like, oof, that is really far. It doesn't sound far till you visually see it in water. And then, yeah. So, I mean, I'm just glad that's behind me.
I was on the Competitive Edge podcast about a month ago, and he asked a question. He said, I heard you did Ironman back in the day. It's like, no, I didn't. After my first Spartan Race World Championship, I thought that was fine, but like, I'm done. I'm going to try something else. And so I decided I was going to train for the Madison Ironman.
Oh, yeah.
And so on day 1, I got in the pool and just did a 1 mile time trial just to see how bad is this going to be. again, like Kirk thought, I'm a competent swimmer. It'll be fine. And I had things giving out on me that have never even announced it, like intercostal cramping, and my lats wanted to cramp. And I was getting like weird breathing side stitches just from reaching forward, and my neck started. And I realized I don't want to do that
No.
100% more and then 40% more. Swimming 2.4 miles is so long if you're not an endurance swimmer. It's an absurd amount of time to be in the water swimming for.
Yeah.
What would you convert that to?
Yeah,
Like a half marathon equivalent, but in the water? Like if you're going even more, half marathon equivalent, but swimming. Like if you're going to put it into perspective of how proficient of a swimmer you need to be, just translate it to running so some of these people understand. Yeah. Right. Wild.
Except if you slow down running, you just slow down. Like you don't sink.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
It's different. And Brakken, it sounds like you were at least a decent swimmer. Like my first time I got in the pool, it's a 25-meter pool. I mean, 25 meters, I had to stop and rest because shoulders hurt. Like I was out of breath. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And I was like, I'd already signed up. I put it on my Instagram or Facebook stories just so I had accountability. I didn't really post about it after. I didn't even post when I finished. I just wanted accountability to do it. And I was like, oh my, I can't even swim one length of the pool. That was the biggest thing. Like that's, if you don't know how to swim, you might think you can just get through it. You got to figure that out. It's harder than you would think.
Yeah, like bike worst case scenario, you can't sit down by the end because your butt and your back are so bad. But any athlete can balance on a bike and pump their legs. And you can coast and you can change gears. Swimming's a different animal.
Yeah. Yeah, that and I think that's what keeps most people away from those events. Like that's just you got to put in the time there to figure that out.
I'm going to take a step back with two questions from the race itself. So Brakken and I both come from endurance backgrounds, right? So we look at it through that lens. You don't. So, and it's not often, I don't know, like you were a football bro, let's call it. Like to now be going out and running marathon plus distance things like isn't a typical path. How many of your college teammates are now endurance athletes, TJ? A handful at most?
Probably me.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think any.
And when the cross country team would run by in their stupid split shorts and you guys are all full of testosterone and bravado on the practice field, would you once in a while make a comment like look at those losers and the perspective of the endurance space? Was there any of that? What did you think of us when you were back in college?
I was friends with like the cross country, like the guy I just did the race with at Zumbro, my buddy Kelly. He was a cross country runner in high school. It just wasn't. I didn't understand that world at all because I just grew up doing what I did. You know, I was a ball athlete, and so I didn't get that world. It seemed so far. It didn't interest me at all till I was probably 40. And then even when I started it, I didn't like it because it's painful at first. So you learn what you're doing.
Still painful.
No, yeah, still painful. I never had thoughts like that at all. I respect what they did. It just wasn't anything I knew anything about, you know, so ignorance is bliss. Like I didn't have a clue what you guys do, you know. Now I've been listening to you guys for 3-4 years here, however long it's been. I feel like I've learned a lot. I have a whole lot of perspective, but I've also gone through it now. So I'm learning. It's fun to see the process. This is something I can do hopefully for a really long time. But yeah, I just had no insight into what this took when I was younger.
I had a conversation with a guy at the gym this morning. So I opened the gym at 5:30 and I get my own workout in, and there was a guy in there wearing a Mill City running shirt. You know Mill City running locally. You see him everywhere at these races. Like everybody's proud to represent Mill City running. And so I went up to him. I didn't really recognize him. I said, "Oh, you're a runner, huh?" And I had a Running Public shirt on, like I was, you know, as I always do. And I said, "You're a runner?" And he said, "Yeah, I'm a runner." And da-da-da. And I said, "Oh, that's great. Me too. It's kind of my life. It's actually my career or whatever." And I said, "Yeah, I have a podcast actually about running, the Running Public." I'm wearing the shirt, right? I was sort of shamelessly self-promoting. And he's like, "Podcast about running? How long have you had it?" And I was like, "Almost 5 years, 4.5, 5 years." He's like, "About running? You can talk about running for 5 years?" I was like, "Yeah, actually." And we're just scratching the
we
surface.
cut ourselves off every episode for 5 years.
Yeah.
We did an episode about the warm-up and the cool-down that lasted 90 minutes. Make sense of that. So, yes, there's a lot to learn in this space.
Yep.
That's for dang sure. Okay, so that aside, being a ball sport athlete, a power athlete, and then transitioning to this, what have you learned about yourself? Because this is a part of you that you haven't had to explore, like grinding, the low grade, like the sandpaper on the skin, right? It's not somebody taking a knife and slicing. It's just that rubbing of the sandpaper until it sucks. It's very different. Have you learned anything about yourself, or what's your perspective now versus what it was before you started all this? Do you have any insight on that?
Yeah, I think my background and just the way I grew up, the sports I played at high school and collegiate level, I think I'm glad I have that background, because the perspective of get the work done, show up every day, like the little things you have to do. You couldn't skip a practice in college and, take a day off. All of that was ingrained in me from young on. And so I think that has helped me so much, because I can't do an Ironman if I'm going to half-ass workouts or just skip or go to you and say, "Hey, I don't feel, or this hurts and I don't want to do that." And I don't make excuses. So all the stuff from little on has carried through to now, where I get up and I just do the workout for the day. And that has helped me a ton. So I think that attitude of just getting up and getting my work done and then moving on with my day, that's helped me a ton. I've gotten so much better. I'm still not good at any of this stuff, but I've improved so much in the last 3 years. And you guys talk about it all the time, but especially for somebody like me who's so new to this, like I literally think about, like, man, in 8 years, think about how much better I'll be at running. Now, I'm also aging, so there's going to be a point where it starts coming back down, but I'm just beginning to scratch the surface of, like, getting into this. Really, you guys have been doing this 25, 30 years. Like, that consistency is the key, regardless of how you feel. Like, some days it's not going to be, you guys talk about it all the time. I'll have off days where I just feel like shit. I sent you my email this week, Kirk. Like, a couple workouts didn't feel good, got them in, but something just I didn't feel great. It wasn't my best day, but I got it in. So just the consistency over time it's the critical piece of all of this. Just show up every day, get your work done, be consistent. So that carried on from my life in sport, of that consistency piece that's, relayed into this, which has made me just consistently improve at this endurance stuff, whatever you want to call what I'm doing. And mentally, it helps me a ton. I love going out, and listening to you guys for an hour and a half, 2 hour run on the Saturday morning. Like, I really look forward to it. I don't know. It's hard to explain when you don't have this background and then you find it and you fall in love with it. I can't imagine not having this. So, yeah, and that's a really long answer, but I think just the consistency in my attitude. I show up, I get the work done. I don't make excuses. I had fought through some injuries on this. The Ironman was fine. I was healthy. I got a cold the week of the race, but this last trail race, I dealt with a knee and a hernia. The hernia got really bad the last month, and I'd let you know about it. Like, hey, this has to be dealt with, but I'm going to try to wait.
TJ was manually shoving his intestines back into his body for the last 6 weeks of training, and even on the race course, he would have to take his fingers and push his body back inside his body to complete the 34 miler on the trail. Make sense of that.
Yeah, but to be clear, so people don't freak out again, I did go see a doctor who's told me as long as you can push them back in, there's no risk. If they get stuck, now the blood supply could get cut off, and that's an issue. So if they get stuck, you need to come in. You know, they just hung out all the time. My intestines were hanging out down in my lower stomach, and I would run on the treadmill with one arm and hold them in for a bunch, and it just is a little painful, but there was no risk to hurting myself. And keep in mind, I was training to go do this with a high school buddy that we've been working all winter. I wasn't going to back out and like let him down, and we had such a great day. So I'm glad I got through it. I had literally had surgery scheduled 3 days after the race, so I got it dealt with right away. But yeah, so I'm not an idiot. I'm going to go out there and do something that could harm me. That popped up. Most people probably would pause things, but when you have a goal that you want to go complete and you've worked months for it, you know, it's hard to just give it up for something that you can deal with after the fact. So yeah, some things bubbled up, but you know, you get through it and you move on and deal with it. And yeah, that was a minor bump in the road there towards the last month and a half of it.
That's so uncomfortable. So uncomfortable. I tore mine the week of High Rocks World Championships. Callie and I were qualified for doubles. And so I tried every bracing system. I KT taped myself. I took that, what's it called? That medical wrap, whatever, that tan wrap. I wrapped like a hip girdle. I tried like diaper style, everything I could do to try to keep myself contained. But every time I braced for something, or every like time I landed on burpee broad jump or pulled on the rope, it was just like bloop.
Yeah, it's an uneasy feeling. Yeah, and I bought a girdle. You know, they have these things that you can buy. You strap it around your waist and inside of your leg, and it's got this ball that pushes against it really tight. But you can't run 20 miles or 30 miles with that thing. It'll chafe that. I mean, I can't imagine. Right. So I bought it. I never wore it. I tried it on. I'm like, there's no chance. That's not an option. So yeah, it's a weird feeling to like, I would cough and my intestines would just pop right out of the hole and shove them back in. I'll be honest, on that race, there was twice where it was like, I was struggling to get it back in and it freaking hurt. Like that last few weeks of that was pretty painful.
Yours sounds like it was really big.
It was big. I
could do it with a finger.
Oh no, I was like 3 fingers shoving that thing in. But you know, I knew I already had the surgery scheduled and booked, so it was like, oh, I can get through the race and then it's a pretty minor
All right, I want to hear for you then, because I've said it on here before. My first 3 days post hernia surgery were the worst of any injury or surgery I've ever had. It also then improved very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Within like 7 to 10 days, I was fine. Not fine, but okay. But like the first 48 to 72 hours were the worst I've ever felt in my life.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of if I ever felt worse. It was awful.
Well, your back surgery was pretty brutal, or not surgery, but your back injury. That was real bad.
But the pain in that area, you don't realize how much you use that lower core to do everything. I remember the second day just trying to get out of bed and then down to the couch to sit down and rest for the day. I cried. Like it was, I told Kelly, like that was, if this lasts a couple more days, I can't handle this like that. Yeah. You're right. I think even my back surgery wasn't that bad. Because of that area, you cough, you push to pee. The pain was
sneezing.
Yeah, it was so intense. But then to your point, that next week I did 40 miles of walking on the treadmill. She told me I could walk, I couldn't run. She's like, if it's not painful, you can walk, within a few days. And so I just walked, and it didn't hurt. And then within a couple of weeks, I was back to normal. So the thought was, could I do the surgery in the middle of my training and then do the race? And then we decided, because it was getting bad, there's no way. So then we decided to just pause it push the surgery till after and get through it. But you're right, it was incredibly painful, and I thought it would not be at all.
didn't walk 40 miles my next week.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
I wasn't working. It was just killing time, but it was, yeah, I could walk comfortably on the treadmill and it didn't bother it at all.
Yeah, what I'm hearing, and some people may claim this to be like, Neanderthal tendencies. Neanderthal, I guess is how you're supposed to say it. But it's like walking into brick walls, right? Like there is no... You've had a lot of reasons not to do things, we'll say, yet you continue to still do things, right? My second question, I said I had two, and then I want to follow it up with your discipline, is like the why the big things. And I know you've touched on it sort of answering some of these questions. Like what's the fascination with the big things? What's that about? Is it an itch you have to scratch? Is it the fact that it makes you do good things for your body every day? Is it like what's the driver, the main drivers of chasing like these big things? Because you're sort of self-deprecating when it comes to your ability levels, right? I mean, what have you said? I suck at this like 6 times already since we've started, and he doesn't suck at this. Tell me the splits from your workout last week. You sent him over. You're better than 90% of the people who run. You just look at the top sector of people, and you're not that. And so I think you're harder on yourself than you should be. If you listed out your interval splits from last week on a bad week, in quotes, most people would aspire to run that. So I just want to get that out there for the listeners. But all of that said, what's the driving factor in the long stuff?
Yeah, I think Brakken mentioned something last time I was on around being a competitive athlete. Like big swings are what get you excited, and like I said, I don't want to do things that everybody on my block could go do. So I don't want to go do now 5Ks. You do like where you go chasing time. That's different. But I'm talking like I want to go do something that you can't just show up and do. That you have to go earn your way to do it. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why that intrigues me. It just does. I think because of the journey to get there. I mentioned that earlier, but the whole process. I also think because when I say I'm not fast comparatively, I'm not. Like I'm never going to win any running race. So the longer stuff, I just feel like I'm better at it than going and doing a 5K, right? I mean, I'm faster now, but my first 5K time trial with you would have probably been 30 minutes. Last year, I think I did 22 and change. Mm-hmm. Like I've gotten much faster, but the longer stuff, I just like the process. I don't want to go do. I guess I don't know what things would look like if I was training for a 5K, but I'd like to go out on a Saturday and go for 2-3 hours because it's kind of the time for me mentally to go out and just have time to myself, and I enjoy that process. And so the longer stuff is just intriguing because it's hard. You have to earn it. Not anyone can just go do it typically. And for some reason that lights me up more than smaller stuff. And I think I'm just better suited for that. Like high school, I was a sprinter and really good, but you don't do that when you're 44. So the long stuff, I don't know. It just intrigues me a lot. I think that journey to get there is fun. And when you're learning, and it forces me to be consistent, like to go do a 140.6 mile race, you got to show up every day for a whole bunch of months to do it. And it forces me to stay consistent. So it's a whole bunch of reasons, but yeah, I think that's why.
The process changes when the consequence for not following it is I might not be able to finish.
Yeah.
Like a 5K, you'll just be slower. 100-meter dash, you'll just be embarrassed. An Ironman, you're not going to make it. Like we all know that feeling of our body giving out. And that fear component, I think is important. And I think, Kirk asked, what did you learn coming from ball sport? And that's a good question. But one of the downsides of being a collegiate athlete is that you've gotten close enough to a really high level competition that you're desensitized Like you need something new to move the needle.
Yeah.
Going through just a regular training block doesn't excite you. It doesn't scare you. And then you have to find an event that does in order for the training to then take place.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's spot on for me. Like a half marathon, that doesn't interest me at all because I can't be fast at it, right? Like Kirk just went out and ran whatever, 71. Like I'm never going to be fast at something like that. I can complete that any day of the week. So that it's that bigger stuff that I might not finish for some reason. That is the stuff that I like. Thankfully, I've only done 3 long ones so far, but I haven't quit any. And now, the goal is to go race this half Ironman and then a 50 miler in May. And to keep, ultimate goal for me is to do a 100-mile run. And I'm just trying to push my way to that. Right. And so
Do you have one in mind?
I don't. So I think we're looking at the Ice Age trail race in May. And my buddy that I did the race here with this year volunteered there, and we kind of have marked. We were going to do Zumbro. That's a lot of climbing for 50 miles at that place. 2 laps. At the end of the second lap, or I don't know, we had maybe 4 miles left. I was like, we could do another lap and knock out 50, whatever. And he's like, oh yeah. I'm like, I wouldn't want to, but we can do it. Physically felt great, so much better than I felt doing the Utah Ultra, probably because I didn't have rhabdo. But something with a little less climbing, where there's not bear. That's my ultimate goal of doing a 100-miler at some point. I figure I should probably test it with a 50 first and feel that. And then maybe, I don't know, I got to work with Kirk to see what I do after the 50 miler in May. And I don't know. 100's a lot more than 50, which is a lot more than 30. And I don't know what that would feel like. So it's all new to me. I've, listened to when you had Kirk, your client, on that did 115 miles a couple weeks ago. And she, but she weighs like 110 pounds or whatever. And, I don't. But that's my ultimate goal. And I think, Brakken, to your point, of that stuff that I might not get through it. I might not finish it. That's the stuff that kind of lights me up. So I'll keep pursuing that longer, harder stuff.
Well, that start line is 37 minutes from my house. So assuming that Braden's race schedule next year is free that weekend, I would be more than happy to crew or pace for a bit out there.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Heard it
Just
here.
have a live running commentary the entire time until you're sick of it.
We should just do a live podcast the last 15 miles.
Perfect.
Beautiful.
No, that would
Who
be
knows
awesome.
what'll come out of your mouth at that point?
Yeah, right. Probably nothing. No, so I think that's one my family could come to, because it's close to them. So yeah, I think that's those big pushes are interesting, and again, to Kirk's point, it keeps me engaged in the training. Like I've got a goal at the end of this stuff, so I can't slack. I love this stuff somehow. It's been a really fun journey over the last 3 years of doing this.
There's Brakken, maybe he'll agree with me. I think he will, but I guess I'll be curious as to if you do or not. There's like a progression of an endurance athlete, especially an endurance athlete who finds this, let's call midlife, completing something that you've never done, going further than you ever have, exploring your limits that way, accomplishing a distance, and finishing it is enough. And you either stay down that trajectory where you have to go further and further and further until you either find your limits or you've scratched that itch, or eventually, when I find an athlete progresses even further, and you're at this cusp right now, is the distance doesn't mean as much anymore because you could if you had to. If somebody put a gun to my head and said, Kirk, walk out the door and go 200 miles, I know I could do it.
Yeah.
Barring major catastrophe. When somebody changes to TJ's doing 100 milers to TJ's chasing the 10K, which sounds like such a downgrade. when you step back. Like, really? But he's chasing it with purpose. And what you're doing is you're going now to race a half Ironman, which is very different than the completion phase of an athlete's journey. And don't get me wrong, you could go all the way up to the 200-mile race, whatever you want. And that could be a very top-level athlete could pursue the distance in that regard. But I find this phase 2 of an endurance athlete's journey is they let go of the distance and they focus on the competing, whether it's time or place or whatever. And you're like in the cusp of that, I feel like. I know you are. And it's just an interesting thing because you can look at it two ways, you know?
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think chasing this other stuff is going to help me build that base that I lack so that if I want to come back and then try to chase some faster stuff, I'll feel like I'm able to. I just feel slow right now that I just need to keep doing what I'm doing for a couple more years, and then I think I'll have a big enough base built up that I can cut down to something. And like what you just did that's impressive and probably equally or more painful. Like 26 miles is a lot more than a 5K, but I gotta imagine an all-out 5K is freaking really painful.
I would dread that
just
race.
A different kind of pain.
I dread the all-out 5K more than the half marathon I did, because there's a time period of comfort once the gun goes off, and in the right short race, there's not.
If you're seeking excitement or stimulus, you go long. The natural progression is generally go long,
100%.
and then from there it's either shorter and faster or gnarlier.
Right.
On the terrain. Like that's where people diverge, and it's just whatever one pulls you at that moment.
Yeah.
But as long as you're seeking new stimulus, like there's always a direction to go.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's maybe what I need is the new stimulus, because now I'm doing an Ironman, a half, and then I'm doing a trail race, and I think maybe bouncing back and forth is keeping it new and fresh. It sucks getting up in the morning and go jumping in that pool that's not warm that I go to. And I just force myself to do it, and did it yesterday morning. I need that different stimulus, I think, to keep me engaged. And I'm only racing now. It'll be 1 or 2 a year, so it's not a lot. But I need that longer time in between to train up for this stuff. So, it's not for everybody. It fits me really well. And where I'll go 5 years from now, I have no idea. I just know I like what I'm doing right now, and that's what I'll focus on. And then when I finish this, Kirk and I will sit down and figure out where we go next. And just the journey of me trying to become a runner led me to all this. So been really fun.
You're not trying to be a runner anymore, in case you're wondering. You can just get rid of the word trying. Interesting thing to talk about with you. And I had a conversation with an athlete, Troy Christie. I believe you listened to the podcast. Troy's 46, I believe, Troy. And he brought up the conversation of he found running 3 years ago, kind of like you. And his last 5K, granted it was in 110 degrees. He lives in Arizona. It's a ridiculous place to live this time of year and try to run metrics. Am I at the point, even though I'm more committed than ever, where does the conjecture intersection of getting better in age meet? And then where does it meet lower and lower and lower in the performance scale? I would feel some desperation if I were you. And I don't mean to kick the beehive, but you got to be thinking it. I'm thinking it every day. How long can I continue to improve before, no matter what I do, no matter how perfectly executed my training is, I'm only going to get worse from here on out. It's a mental mind F to think about that, especially if you're finding it in midlife, improving in midlife, but you're going to be stunted by time. You don't have enough time.
Yeah.
What do you make of all of that? Not to get too woo-woo, but it's true, right?
Yeah. I don't care I think because it's hard to explain. If this was a football league that adults did, and I was like, man, I don't have it like I used to. I can't cut anymore. I can't sprint. I can't. This is all new to me. So to be where you guys are, where you start to see your times, like, Kirk, you're going to start scratching your PR in a 5K. Like, you're probably going to get close to the fastest you've ever been. This was not what I was ever good at. So it doesn't really bother me that at some point, the 7-minute miles are going to be 8-minute miles. Because to me, it's more about the journey than the outcome of the race. Now, this next race, I do have a time goal, but I haven't. Because I don't know when that's going to happen, and I don't know when I'll know that that's happening, other than my heart rate's 180 on a recovery run. And it's like, oh shit, I'm not as fit. So yeah, it's going to happen, and maybe when it happens, I'll feel differently. Right now, it doesn't bother me a whole bunch. I guess because maybe I'm lying to myself that I still think I'm improving, but at some point I won't. I'll stop. Yeah, but then at some point I'm going to stop improving, and I think we'll probably know when that is just by the metrics. Right now, it hasn't happened yet. But
the thing I think to interject is I was 6 seconds slower in my 5K. It's not a big, like, it's not like you're going to fall off a cliff. Is what I've seen with the athletes that age that I've worked with. And I'll be honest with you, I think about it a lot right now. Like, I feel like I am on the edge of the cliff. Like, and I know that's not how it works, but...
Are we talking midlife crisis for you, Kirk? No. Is that what we're staring down?
This isn't about me, but what I'm saying is a midlife running crisis. Are you kidding me? I will own that right now without question. Of course, I'm wrestling time in two ways. Trying to run as fast as I ever have against a ticking time bomb. It's inevitable. There's no denying that. And so I just imagine others feel the same way, and just the way you come into your running in your mid-40s. It's just an interesting thing to, like, sort out. Like, you want to break 22 in the 5K, but are we going to look back in 3 years and be like, that was it? Even though it was only 2 years into my journey, that was it. It just messes with me. Messes with me.
Maybe that's the fastest I'll get. I don't think so yet.
No, you'll get faster.
I think I'm faster than that now, but I also don't. I think I don't care. Like, I'm gonna keep putting in my best effort, but last time I checked, the 22 minutes is gonna win the Olympics. So it's not like I'm.
You only got to take 10 minutes.
For me,
it's if you want to win these days.
Right. So if you think about it like that. Again, your background in a racer, like, this is your thing. This isn't my thing, so I don't think about it like that. To me, it's more about the journey, which is why I think the long stuff is more intriguing, because it's just the journey to do it and become whatever, this endurance athlete that I aspire to be. So it doesn't bother me as much yet. But I'm sure there's a day where I'll be running 14-minute miles and be like, man, I was really fast when I could do this in 8 minutes. But right now I'm still improving, so maybe I don't have anything to compare it against like you do. You know what fast feels like from when you were younger, and I feel like I'm, this is all new to me every day. So,
Well, the saving grace with all of this is that every race deviation you go up is less and less anaerobic. And we lose fast twitch first, and then we lose recoverability, and then we lose anaerobic capacity. But aerobic capacity stays for a long time, and if you don't care, like, my 400 meter is gone. I'll never PR that. My 800 meter is gone. My mile, I think if I dedicated my life to it, I could get close, but probably never touch it again. But the 5K is still there. And in 3 years, the 10K will be there. And then in 3 years after that, the half marathon will be there. The longer you go, the less aging matters, other than recovering and training.
Yeah.
But if you don't need your twitchiness, I think you can pick running up at 40 and improve until you're 60. I don't see any reason why, because if you're not trying to run highly anaerobic, you may not feel anything different other than everything hurts more the next morning.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good point. And that's probably where you guys turn next is the longer, because you'll be just as fast, right? I don't know if that intrigues you guys, but like that seems like the logical thing. But I guess whatever inspires you to get out there. But yeah, Kirk, I don't think about it like you do, but I think it's because our backgrounds are very different. Where this is not my sport, this is not what I do. My call did cancel at 11:30, by the way, so I do have more than 4 minutes if we need it.
It's convenient.
But yeah, so I don't. I just got a message. I just don't think about it like that. But I know that you do. But again, I think it's because you've been doing this so long. This is what you did. Yeah, if I was playing football right now, it'd be very different. But
That's fair. I just thought I would ask. It's a unique position to be in, aging while improving. And those lines are going to intersect at some point. Who knows when? Hopefully it is when you're 60. And you're right. You can go longer. And there's tenureship and lessons learned in your previous years that you can apply to long races that can make you do something better than you ever have at 50. It's been done. But maybe it's a midlife running crisis. No problem with that. I'm glad you're not there, TJ.
Not yet.
Is that a bad thing? Is a midlife crisis a bad thing, guys? Is it like, ooh, like that person's struggling? Like, is that how it's looked at?
It's the reaction to the midlife crisis that's the good or the bad thing.
Yeah, double down.
Do you run away with a dancer or do you sign up for an ultra? Like that's the difference.
Exactly. Yeah, I think I'm going through one, and people probably look at me like, oh, he's probably going through some stuff. He's doing an Ironman.
I suppose.
Yeah.
I suppose.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. Again, I think you just see it differently than someone like me, right? Because it doesn't bother me that I'm. It's just this is all I know.
All right. Well, I just have one more thing I want to get to with you, anyways. It is just laying out your life. So you're a dad of 3. You have 2 younger girls at home. How old are Haley and Macy? 11 and 12?
11 and 12, and then my son Gavin is 20.
20. Still lives under your roof, though, right? Working. He's...
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
You have a wife. You have a full-time job that you play hooky from just for short periods of time, but you're mostly committed to. You have hobbies and a life outside of endurance training because we share those passions to get outside and go fishing and hunting and those things. Your kids are what I would call overcommitted in sports, to say the least. You, for example, opening day of deer hunting season, TJ, I assigned you a long run, which I should have known better. I should have done something about that. You had family that you were going to go out in the woods with. What time did you get up that day? Do you remember?
2.
You got up at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Gavin and I stayed we stayed at a hotel in Rochester because our land is by there. And I forget what you prescribed me, but it wasn't fun. It was long, but it also was like there was some
spice,
some quality built in the middle. Yeah. And I got up at 2 o'clock in the morning, went on the treadmill in the gym at the hotel. It's just because
2 in the morning.
It was Saturday. Yeah.
I'm outlining. Yeah. I have heard, and this is why I told you initially I wanted you on this podcast, was I'm so tired of the excuses, TJ, from people I work with. And people justify to themselves as they are justifications, not excuses. They're excuses. There's people with harder situations and busier lives than you. I'll acknowledge that. But you're in the upper 10 percentile with your commitments.
Oh, yeah.
And I've never heard your intestines were popping out and you continued to train and race. You got up at 2 a.m. when most people, like, it's opening weekend of deer season. I have to get up at 4 already. And I have family I'm going with, so I'm just not going to do it today. Like, I'll figure it. Like, you didn't waver once since I've known you in 3 years. I don't think, since we've started training together, 4 years. All I want to know is, what do you have to say to these people? And do you have any advice in this realm? Because self-admittedly, I let athletes get away with things sometimes. I just let it. I don't even want to deal with their shitty excuses. And I just be like, oh, yeah, it must have been a tough day. Totally get it. Get them next time. Like, because it's easier on me. It's easier on them. And I'm lying to both of us.
Yeah.
What's your advice?
Yeah. I don't equate to that, so it's hard for me to give advice. I don't understand. I guess if you show me somebody who's skipped a workout, I bet they skipped 2. If you show me somebody that's dropped out of a race, forget the health issues, because that I totally understand, because it was hard. I bet they've done it more than once. You know, it just makes it easier every time. If you don't do what's on the schedule, and you can come up with whatever excuse you want to come up with. We get our softball schedule for my youngest daughter, Macy, and it's like an 8 a.m. game, an hour away from home. We got to be there an hour early. It's like, shit. I had a 2-hour and 15-minute run that morning, so it was a 2:30 wake up, because I sure as shit don't want to do when I get home, because that sucks, you know, after a full day of softball and then try to squeeze it in. It just gets done, and I don't know how to. I don't see it any other way, I guess. So it's hard for me to give advice when it's just do it. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. Like, unless something really truly hurts. I would say that hernia thing was pretty painful. There was no risk to my health. I just get up and get it done. So I don't know what to tell somebody who chooses not to. Like, I don't.
I think you just said it right there. I think people need to realize that they're choosing not to.
Yeah.
Which means you also, conversely, can just choose to.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying this from a place of perfection. Anyone who knows me knows that's not the case. But we all at least need to be honest with ourselves that we're choosing to use our excuses.
Yeah. Yeah, I just choose to not for this. You know, am I 100% perfect? I don't know. I really don't skip. I don't. I just do it, you know, and it's not like I got to go out for 10 hours and do something, you know. 4 hours might be the longest thing I do. I mean, to put it in perspective, I'll give you an example. I had my Ironman training. My daughter had a volleyball game indoors. It was winter at 11 o'clock on a Saturday. I had 7 hours of brick to do indoors, and we had to be there, you know, 10:30. And I got that 7 hours in my basement before. Now, I didn't get there with the families. They had to be there a half hour early. I was rushed, so I had to drive separately. But I made it. And that was 7 hours on a bike. I think it was a 4.5 hour bike and a 2.5 hour run on a bike indoors on a treadmill. And I just did it on a winter day. It was cold as shit. You know, you have no choice but to be indoors. But I looked at the schedule and I just worked backwards from when I need to leave the house. And it's one day I got to get up super duper early, you know, 1:30 to eat, and that sucked. I just did it. Maybe I'm wired a little differently than some, but
well, yeah.
I think if you just don't make it an option, unless you're hurt, or you really got something mentally going on that you just, you know, but I don't know. So I've had some shitty scenarios that I've got to figure out when to get the stuff done, and I just get it in. So I travel for work. You know, I was just in Ireland and got my stuff in. Like, I just don't make excuses, and I choose to do it. And I think a lot of people just, because if I don't, there's no harm. Kirk will just be like, well, you didn't do it. Like, I'm not letting anybody down but myself. I'll probably do a little worse in the race. I won't be as prepared, but it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. But to me, it kind of does, because, and I've said it before, but like, how you do anything is how you do everything. And so if you skip one, skipping that second one just becomes a little easier. because you've already done it. Kirk didn't care. He just says, "Oh, we'll work harder this week or whatever."
I'll care if it
I
becomes
just
a
don't
habit.
make it.
I'll give you the benefit of the doubt once or twice.
Yeah.
Your line moves though with each decision.
Yeah.
It either nudges forward or you cement it right where it is and it becomes a wall.
Yeah.
Those are the only two options.
You know,
Yeah.
some people might, maybe my brain works differently, or maybe other people are thinking the same thing, which would be like, well, of course, this is some form of OCD, or this is a compulsive thing that has control over TJ in which he has to be square. And I know, and I'm just saying because there are people, listen, I've worked in gyms my whole life, and I see people go in there who have an unhealthy relationship with their working out, right? I've seen it. I know, you know the type.
Yep.
But what I'm saying is this doesn't come from that place even a little with you, because I know you as like a man, as a human, as a father, husband, friend, you know, like this, none of that is you that I know of. Like, I have never seen a tendency from you that would be like, I need to get this done because otherwise I'm not right in any avenue of your life, including working out. It's not that. It's literally discipline because you know it's what's required of you. It has nothing to do with anything other than that. And I just want to be clear, because some people might listen to this and sound like it's extreme, a 1:30 wake up for a 7-hour brick, which is extreme, but it's coming from a place of discipline. It's not coming from anywhere else. And I can tell people that for a fact. You're going to be fine either way if the workout gets done or not, but you care enough to get it done. So I think it's an important thing to state. Maybe I was the only one who thought people might be thinking that, but if I was wondering, I'm sure others were too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely not from an unhealthy perspective. It's just the discipline piece. And again, it's not that I have never gone to you, Kirk, and said, Kirk, I have a 3-hour run on Saturday. We got to leave this house at 5:30. Like, can I do it Friday? I'll do my shorter Friday workout Saturday and just flip-flop the days. Like, I've done that where I don't have 6 hours this Saturday. That it's going to be really tough. I'll move it to Friday and get up early on a Friday or something where I just have work. Like, I've done that, but 99% of the time the workouts stay in order. And, you know, the Ironman stuff, you can be a little more flexible with the swim. You just throw it in where you can get to it. Mine's Wednesday, but I'll try to add a second one here moving forward. It's not on the schedule. I just need it. But yeah, I don't know. I just get up and do it. I don't make it an option, and I don't equate to the mindset of just skipping. Like, I wouldn't feel good about that, but it's not because I need the mental whatever I get from the workout. It's what I signed up for. So
I'm glad you talked about shuffling, because shuffling is not the same as quitting.
Yeah.
If the work gets in, the work gets in, and people should not hesitate to reach out to their coaches in order to that's part of the coach's job. Like, you're paying them to help you train. That's part of training.
Yep.
But I'm a dad of 3. I don't get up at 4 a.m. to work out because of one major thing. And so I'm just going to ask you, when do you sleep? What time do you go to bed?
Yeah. When I first was on here, it was 11:30, 12, like way too late. Now, summer's a little different because it's a little lighter later, but in the school year, like, I'm trying to be in bed by 9:30 now. Like, in the last year and a half, I've gotten much better at that.
Does your wife stay up with the kids, or are they on their own?
So, I mean, during the school year, they go to bed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, they go to bed by 9 o'clock because they got to get up early. So, no, they're in bed. Gavin, he does his own thing. He's 20. But, yeah, the younger ones go to bed at a good time. In the school year, or like now in the summer, they'll have, there's probably a minimum of 5 young girls here every night with sleepovers. So they're doing their thing in the other side of the house, and Kelly and I go to bed. But, yeah, the summertime has been a little different. Like, I'm up past 10 too many nights here this summer because it's freaking light. The kids are swimming, and we do a little more. We're just up later, but yeah, I've gotten so much better at that because it's such a powerful thing. But that's the tricky part when I first started this, I was probably getting 4 hours of sleep, and that's not sustainable either.
Right.
So yeah, now on those nights where have to get up at 1 or 2 in the morning for a ridiculous workout or something, I'm just not getting a lot of sleep. But I also, Bracken, you've talked about this. Like sometimes that happens on race day where you just sleep like shit. So that occasionally preparing to feel like that and go work out, I think is probably okay.
Yeah, that's true. Knowing it's not the end of the day.
Yeah, and I just
you're gonna warm up and it's gonna work.
Yeah, I just try not to make a habit of it. But that is one area since I've been on the podcast because I've heard it and then I was like, oof, I cannot be sleeping 4.5 hours. Like I need to get better. I know Kirk goes to bed at about 5 p.m. some nights, so I'm trying to get to better. I get to bed early now, or much earlier than I used to. So I'm getting 6 hours most nights.
When I get a text from Kirk past 8, I'm always thinking, what's going on?
Yeah.
What is happening here?
We usually slip into bed between 8 and 8:30, and we'll watch an episode of something on Jess's phone. Right now it's Suits. And that'll end sometime around 9, but I'm pretty much unplugged once I get into bed. It's a bad habit, I suppose, but it unwinds us, and then we go to bed. So, yeah, 9 o'clock, I don't often see 9 tick on the phone before I'm trying to sleep, yeah. But I don't have kids.
You both watch a show on her phone?
Yes, it's on my lap. She kind of cuddles up, and we watch.
Yeah, that's a midlife crisis. I don't understand that.
It's got a big phone.
That's a tough. I mean, yeah,
that's a non-starter for me.
Yeah,
well,
never done that.
This podcast isn't about me, so. All right. Anything else you want to ask, Bracken, or are we ready to wrap this thing up? I think there's some really valuable nuggets in here that I think there's always going to be people, including myself at times, that need to look in the mirror, right? And you will too. You have to look in the mirror in regards to, I'm sure, plenty of things in your life, but a lot of people need to look in the mirror with their training life and how bad do you want it? What do you want to get out of this and how committed are you, right? And it's not like you're chasing gold medals. You're chasing intrinsic self-satisfaction, and that's enough for you to get up on those days, right? And so as long as that point got across, I am happy. So, Bracken, do you have anything you want to finish with?
Just a question. It sounds like I've run into someone who consumes as much indoor content while exercising as I do. So what's that theoretical bucket list? You're stumbling upon all these videos online while doing training. What speaks to you? What kind of events do you have way off in the future that you'd like to hit someday?
I mean, I've watched a lot of people go out and do Leadville in Western states like that. Nick Bear, the guy I talked about, like I've watched him do some Ironman and then that, and he just ran like a sub 2:45. Like watch a guy that was running 4-hour marathon. So I've just followed his journey. That Leadville race looks absolutely awful. I don't know that I could do it. There's so much climbing it up way high altitude, but that's been the stuff that I've. And the algorithm in YouTube just kind of steers you to more and more of that. So it's a lot of Sally McRae and guys out running, Jim Walmsley. It's all of that. I'm completely off the Spartan stuff now, and it's a lot of hybrid athletes, and then people training for those big Western mountain races. That they look intriguing to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You also sent me
terrifying.
A screenshot of a guy in a tree stand the other day, so I'm just saying there's other stuff mixed in there, but it's not much.
I watch some hunting stuff, but it's 90% of the time it's as hunting season approaches here, gets me kind of fired up. But it's a lot of that, and it's a lot of hybrid guys who are big lifters and now getting into running. So to watch a guy go from a 4-hour marathon to sub 2:45 that weighs 200 pounds, like that's been fun to watch, that type of journey. And I guess people that share the journey on YouTube, I enjoy following along and hearing their stories. But yeah, that stuff definitely speaks to me, and I think those are bucket list type items.
I'm satisfied. I like that.
Cool.
Even if I think West Coast mountains are the worst, I understand why people are drawn to them.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks fun. Probably terrible too.
They're too high. They go on forever.
Yeah.
just made for tough races. And so I get that draw.
Yeah. Yeah, they look intriguing.
It does look more intriguing than up and down a 145-foot ski hill for 3 hours. It's an easy decision there, which is what we have here. All right, man. Well, thanks for hopping on with us today. I'll be seeing plenty of you coming up here, so we don't have to say our goodbyes. But you and Brakken might not see each other till Ice Age now, so you guys want to hug it out or fist bump, and then we can say sayonara.
Yeah, just let me know what you need me to carry, and I'm in.
Sounds like a plan to me. I'm going to hold you to it.
Perfect.
Thanks for having me, fellas. Good to see you.
Yeah, thanks, dude.
All right. See you, boys. Bye-bye.
Bye.